The crisp morning silence was broken only by the clinking of metal handcuffs against Captain Sarah Walker's delicate wrists. Her brown eyes, which for years had commanded respect and inspired soldiers on distant battlefields, now reflected an unsettling calm in the face of public humiliation. The scars on her hands, testament to explosions that had saved the lives of innocent civilians, trembled slightly under the weight of the cold steel that bound her like a common criminal. Fort Meade buzzed with palpable tension. Young soldiers, some still sporting the wispy beards of youth, watched silently as their commander was escorted across the central courtyard in a degrading spectacle. Colonel Thompson, a corpulent man with a graying mustache and small eyes that seemed constantly calculating personal advantage, walked beside her with a subtle smile that couldn't quite conceal his satisfaction. He had waited for this moment for months, ever since Sarah had publicly questioned his questionable decisions regarding the use of military resources for personal gain. Sarah held her head high, her dark hair pulled back in an impeccable military bun even under these adverse circumstances. Each step she took on the rough concrete of the courtyard echoed like a war drum, yet she showed neither anger nor despair. Her dignity remained intact, an inner fortress that no external humiliation could topple. The soldiers watching knew her story: 3 combat tours, 2 medals of honor, dozens of lives saved under enemy fire, and a reputation built on unwavering integrity and exceptional courage. The official reason for her arrest was insubordination and misappropriation of military resources. In reality, Sarah had uncovered Thompson's scheme to divert medical supplies intended for field hospitals to sell them on the black market. When she refused to remain silent and threatened to report her findings to her superiors, Thompson acted first, forging evidence and using his political influence to turn the situation against her. The system, sometimes, protects those who know how to manipulate it best, not necessarily those who serve it with the greatest honesty. As they walked towards the transport vehicle that would take her to the military tribunal, Sarah noticed the gazes of the enlisted soldiers. There was something in their eyes that Thompson couldn't see, a mixture of disbelief, silent outrage, and unwavering respect for their commander. Private Martinez, a 19-year-old who had served under her command in Afghanistan, clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug into his palms. He knew, as did everyone else, that Sarah had saved their entire unit when they were ambushed by insurgents, personally carrying 3 wounded soldiers to safety under intense enemy fire. Sergeant Williams, a 15-year veteran with graying hair and deep blue eyes, watched the scene from across the courtyard. She had served with Sarah on 2 different missions and knew her integrity better than anyone else on that base. Her hands trembled slightly as she held a yellow envelope containing documents that could change everything, but she knew that confronting Thompson directly would be professional suicide. The military system, despite its noble ideals, is sometimes dominated by dirty political games that destroy true heroes while protecting opportunists. Thompson stopped abruptly before the military vehicle, turning to face Sarah with a cruel smile that revealed teeth yellowed by cigarettes. "Captain Walker," he said in a drawling voice with a condescending tone, "I hope this experience teaches you about the consequences of questioning authority. Some lessons are learned the hard way." Sarah looked him directly in the eyes, her voice low but clear as crystal. "Colonel, the truth has a peculiar way of emerging, even when we try to bury it. History will be the final judge of our actions here today." The moment was interrupted by the shrill ringing of a telephone. Captain Rodriguez, Thompson's aide-de-camp, rushed toward them holding a red military phone, the kind reserved only for high-priority emergency communications. His hands trembled visibly as he approached, sweat beading on his brow despite the cool morning breeze. "Colonel Thompson," he said in a nervous voice, "it's a direct line from the Pentagon. They want to speak with you immediately about Captain Walker's situation." Thompson's face went instantly pale, as if all the blood had drained from his veins. His small, calculating eyes widened in barely concealed panic, and for the first time since Sarah had known him, he looked genuinely shaken. The phone continued to ring insistently, each ring sounding like a hammer blow on the coffin of his military career. With trembling hands, he picked up the receiver and put it to his ear, his voice a raspy whisper. "Colonel Thompson speaking." The voice on the other end of the line was clear and authoritative enough for everyone around to hear fragments of the conversation. "Colonel Thompson, this is General Morrison, from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We have just received a detailed report on irregularities at your base, including substantial evidence of corruption and misappropriation of medical supplies. Furthermore, we have in our possession documents proving that Captain Walker was investigating these irregularities when she was arrested on false charges." Thompson swallowed hard, his graying mustache trembling visibly. "General, I can explain," but the voice on the other end cut him off immediately. "There's nothing to explain, Colonel. We have photographic evidence of your meetings with black market intermediaries, bank records showing suspicious deposits in your personal accounts, and testimonies from multiple witnesses confirming a pattern of corrupt behavior. Captain Walker is to be released immediately, and you are to consider yourself under house arrest until a formal investigation is concluded." The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone in the courtyard, soldiers, officers, civilian personnel, stood paralyzed, watching Thompson crumble before their eyes. His legs seemed to give way, and he leaned heavily against a military vehicle to avoid falling. The phone slipped from his sweaty hands, hitting the ground with a metallic clang that echoed through the courtyard like a gunshot. It's in these moments of radical transformation that we realize how small actions can have monumental consequences. Sarah's courage in defending the truth, even knowing the personal risks, created ripples that reached the highest echelons of military power. If you're following this story and feeling the same outrage and hope that I felt while writing it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Stories like this, showing how justice can prevail even in the darkest moments, are published regularly here, and subscribing ensures you never miss these inspiring moments that can change our perspective on courage, integrity, and the importance of doing the right thing. Plus, your engagement helps these messages of hope reach more people who need to be reminded that there are still heroes among us. Captain Davis, still in shock, cautiously approached Sarah, and with trembling hands, began to remove the handcuffs from her wrists. The cold metal that had symbolized humiliation just moments before now clattered to the ground like broken chains of an undone injustice. Sarah gently massaged her wrists, where small red marks bore witness to the indignity she had endured with admirable dignity. Thompson remained leaning against the vehicle, his breathing ragged and his glazed eyes fixed on the horizon, as if trying to mentally process the magnitude of his downfall. In a matter of minutes, he had gone from a powerful man controlling destinies to a disgraced officer facing the utter ruin of his career and reputation. The irony was cruel, but just in attempting to destroy Sarah, he had sealed his own fate. Sergeant Williams, who had silently witnessed everything from across the courtyard, finally found the courage to approach. In her hands was the yellow envelope containing copies of the documents she had secretly collected on Thompson's illicit activities. "Captain Walker," she said in a firm but respectful voice, "I have some information that may be helpful to the investigation." Sarah accepted the envelope with a grateful nod, acknowledging the bravery it had taken Williams to keep this evidence safe during those perilous months. The soldiers who had observed Sarah's arrest began to gradually approach, forming a respectful circle around their commander. Their faces reflected a mixture of relief, admiration, and something that looked like a renewed faith in justice. Private Martinez, the young man she had saved in Afghanistan, stepped forward and gave a crisp salute. "Captain," he said, his voice choked with emotion, "I never doubted you for a second. We all knew the truth would come out." Sarah looked around at the faces of the men and women she had led, trained, and protected. There was no triumph in her eyes, only a quiet satisfaction in seeing that the system, despite its flaws and occasional corruptions, was still capable of correcting itself when confronted with irrefutable evidence of the truth. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice thick with contained emotion. "Thank you for believing, even when everything seemed lost." General Morrison continued speaking through the phone that still lay on the ground, his voice echoing through the silent courtyard. "Captain Walker, your exemplary service record and your unwavering integrity in the face of adversity have not gone unnoticed by High Command. Once this investigation is concluded, I hope you will consider accepting a promotion to major and a leadership position in our new military anti-corruption initiative." Sarah bent to pick up the phone, her posture erect and confident in stark contrast to Thompson's hunched and defeated figure. "General Morrison, it's an honor to speak with you. I accept the responsibility being offered, but I would like to request that the investigation be conducted with complete transparency. This case shouldn't be about personal retribution, but about restoring faith in the system we all swore to serve with honor." The general's response was immediate and brimming with approval. "Captain, your response confirms exactly why you were chosen for this responsibility. The integrity you demonstrated today, maintaining your dignity under extreme pressure and focusing on justice rather than retaliation, is precisely the kind of leadership our armed forces need." As the phone conversation continued, Thompson finally found the strength to push himself away from the vehicle. His movements were slow and heavy, like those of a man far older than his years. He looked one last time at Sarah, and for a moment, his eyes reflected what might have been genuine regret. But it was too late for redemption. The choices he had made over years of small corruptions and moral compromises had finally caught up with him. The soldiers continued to gather around Sarah, creating a circle of protection and support that spoke louder than any words could express. Among them was Corporal Johnson, a combat veteran with burn scars on the right side of his face, the result of a grenade attack Sarah had helped neutralize 2 years prior. He said nothing, simply placing his right hand over his heart in a gesture of respect that was immediately mirrored by every other soldier present. The moment was profoundly moving, a silent acknowledgement that true leadership doesn't come from positions of power, but from consistent acts of courage, integrity, and self-sacrifice for others. Sarah had led by example throughout her career, and now, even in her most vulnerable moment, she continued to demonstrate the strength of character that inspired those around her. The ensuing investigation uncovered the full extent of the corrupt network Thompson had cultivated over the years. Documents seized from his personal files revealed connections with rogue military contractors, systematic diversions of medical supplies destined for war zones, and a consistent pattern of favoritism in promotions and mission assignments based on personal gain rather than military merit. More importantly, the investigation revealed how Sarah had discovered these irregularities during a routine supply audit. Instead of ignoring the discrepancies or attempting to negotiate some kind of quiet settlement with Thompson, she had meticulously documented every piece of evidence of misconduct, creating a comprehensive file that would eventually reach the appropriate authorities through channels Thompson never anticipated. Sergeant Williams, whose courage in preserving crucial evidence had been instrumental in exposing the truth, was subsequently promoted and transferred to a supervisory position in the new internal audit unit that would be established as a direct result of this case. Her expertise and knowledge of identifying signs of systemic corruption would prove invaluable in preventing future similar occurrences. During the weeks that followed, the base underwent a profound cultural transformation. Thompson's downfall and Sarah's vindication sent a clear message throughout the military hierarchy: integrity would be rewarded, and corruption would be punished, regardless of an individual's rank or political connections. New protocols were established for reporting irregularities, and a whistleblower protection system was implemented to ensure that future whistleblowers would not face retaliation. Sarah assumed her new responsibilities as major with a clear mission to restore trust between the enlisted personnel and military leadership. She established a mentorship program for junior officers, emphasizing that true military leadership should be based on sound ethical principles, not personal ambition or political gain. Her lectures on military ethics became legendary at the academy, inspiring a new generation of officers to place integrity above expediency. The impact of her story, spread far beyond the confines of the military base. Military journalists wrote about the case as an example of how the system can self-correct when courageous individuals choose to do the right thing, even in the face of significant personal risk. Military universities began using her case as a case study in ethics and leadership courses, demonstrating how strong moral principles can be more powerful than political position or personal influence. Months later, during a promotion ceremony, Sarah was called to the stage to receive her new rank insignia. As she ascended the steps, the soldiers in the audience spontaneously rose to their feet, creating an ovation that lasted several minutes. It was not just a celebration of her promotion, but a collective acknowledgement that she had championed values they had all sworn to protect when they first donned the uniform. In her acceptance speech, Sarah spoke about the importance of remembering that the military uniform represents a sacred commitment to the people they serve. When we choose to wear this uniform, she said with a clear and determined voice, we make a promise not only to defend our country against external enemies, but also to uphold the highest standards of moral and ethical conduct. That responsibility doesn't diminish when no one is watching. In fact, it is in those moments that our true character is revealed. She continued, what happened here wasn't a personal victory, but a victory of the value system upon which our military institution is built. Each of you played a part in ensuring that the truth prevailed, whether through your quiet courage, your refusal to accept injustice, or simply your unwavering faith that right always triumphs over wrong, even when it seems to be losing the battle. The ceremony concluded with Sarah being presented with a commemorative plaque engraved with the names of all the soldiers who had served under her command during her career. But perhaps the most meaningful gift was a handwritten letter from Private Martinez, the young man she had saved in Afghanistan, in which he wrote, Major Walker, you not only saved my life that day on the battlefield, but you also taught me what it truly means to serve with honor. I promise I will carry those lessons with me wherever my career takes me. The case's legacy extended far beyond the base where it all began. The anti-corruption program Sarah helped develop was implemented in military bases around the world, creating an international network of officers trained to identify and report misconduct. Her methodology for documenting evidence became standard in military investigative courses, and her personal example of maintaining dignity under pressure became legend in military circles. Thompson in turn faced court-martial and was sentenced to 10 years of military prison, in addition to forfeiting all pensions and benefits accumulated during his career. More devastating than the legal punishment was the social ostracism he faced from the military community, where reputation and honor are considered more valuable than material wealth. His downfall served as a stark warning to others who might be tempted to compromise their integrity for personal gain. The red phone that had carried the call from the Pentagon was later preserved in the base museum as a symbol of how truth can emerge at the most unexpected moments. Visitors frequently stop before the display case where it is exhibited, reading the plaque that explains how a simple phone call changed the course of multiple lives and restored faith in military justice. Years later, when young cadets would ask Sarah about that terrible day when she was arrested in front of her own troops, she always answered the same way, the darkest moments often precede the brightest. When we choose to do what's right, even knowing it may cost us dearly, we create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see or imagine. Never underestimate the power of one person of integrity confronting a corrupt system. Eventually, the truth always finds a way to surface. Her story became more than a military success story. It transformed into a beacon of hope for anyone facing injustice in any walk of life. It demonstrated that personal integrity, even when tested under the most adverse circumstances, can be more powerful than political influence, personal connections, or hierarchical position. It's a reminder that real heroes rarely wear capes or seek recognition. They simply do what's right, even when no one else is willing to.
The echoes of that morning on the parade ground continued to reverberate through the years, reminding everyone who witnessed or heard about the events that small acts of courage can trigger transformative change. Sarah Walker proved that one person of integrity, armed only with truth and unwavering determination, can challenge and defeat entire systems of corruption and injustice. Her story remains a timeless testament that no matter how dark the night may seem, there's always a dawn waiting to break the horizon.